Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, I'm going to have my 2020 State of the Collection. This is sort of an annual thing that I do with my collection, what's new, what's old, and generally where I'm going with it. And I have it organized in sort of a way that makes sense to me. I try to put the same brands together, and other things that have something in common, but they don't always have anything in common. All right, well, let me start off with my newest watch, which is a H. Moser at Sea Endeavor Center Seconds. Now, this particular one is the older center seconds. The new Endeavor center seconds has an automatic. This has the 7-day hand wound. I think it's the HMC 343 is the movement in it. Beautiful watch. It's in rose gold, brown dial. There's a story behind this, and I'll make it quick. I had some kind of deal set up with a vendor in Switzerland, and he gave me we negotiated a price, I should say, and so it was for the Rolls-Royce version of this, but it has small seconds, and it wasn't a 7-day. But I like that because I used to have a Rolls-Royce and had a lot of fun with it. So I'm not going to get another one, but anyway, I just thought it was sort of cool. Well, he said, well, wire me the money. I said, I'm going to have to put it on my credit card. And he said, no. He said, I don't deal with that. So I said, okay, well, I'll save it up and send it to you. So I saved, and it took me a while. And so I saved up the agreed upon amount, contacted him, and he'd gone through some kind of problems. And so he said the deal was off, and that was that. So I went looking for another one, and I found this one, and it turns out it's one of those funny things that I really like this better than I did the original one that I tried to get, the Rolls-Royce version. Now, the other H. Moser I have is one I absolutely love. It's in white gold. It's called the Henry Double Hairspring, H. Moser Henry Double Hairspring. And it's been an incredible watch. They have some of these. I believe they use a double hairspring with their tourbillons. But I got an email from them. I contacted them, and I asked them how come they weren't making them that way anymore. And they said, it's too expensive. It's really hard. The engineering involved and everything else. So, I mean, it's in terms of a price that they had in mind for the watch, they couldn't afford to sell it for that. So anyway, that happens. Okay, another new watch that I got has another unusual story to it. There's a Jacquet 736, which is it's the name of a movement that I happen to like a lot. This is what it looks like right here. And so I've been collecting or trying to collect watches with 736, and there are about, 5 or 6 models, not models, but brands that have them. I had gotten this one. This is a Maurice Lacroix with a masterpiece, rectangular, and it's got the same exact movement. And the movement is really interesting. We've been trying to figure out what it was because the guy who made it didn't make that kind of watches. He was more of an assembler of different things. He'd buy the different parts and so forth. This is Jacquet SA, and he got into a lot of trouble for stealing a bunch of gold cases and making phony Rolexes, things like that. He had a great business going, and why people do that, I don't know, but they do. Anyway, so I've been trying to find as many of these movements as I can, and I refer to it as my outlaw collection. This is my latest edition. Now, if this looks like a woman's watch, it's because it is. It became one. Actually, this is a Dunhill, and with faceted glass. It's really an amazing watch in 18 karat gold. And when I got it, I thought, well, it's a little small. it was sold as a men's version, and that's what it was. But my wife said, boy, I really like that a lot. so I got her this a Green Gator band, a shiny one, and just put the Dunhill buckle on it that came with a watch. And so even though it was mine, I'll use the past tense, I still consider it part of my Maurice Lacroix, not Maurice Lacroix, but my Jacquet 736 collection. Okay, the next two that are part of my collection are a pair of Parmigiani Fleuriets. The first one that I got was this one. This is called the, oops, I have it upside down. This is the Colpa Grande. And one of the things that most impressed me about this, they have one of the best bracelets that I've seen. I had an overseas, one of the original overseas. One of the problems with the original overseas was that they, the bracelets kept popping open. This one is incredibly good quality. It's a very, very fun color, this sort of robin's egg blue. And one of the things, you can see it, those are called, well, oh God, what are they called? Not bear lugs, but, forgot the name of these huge lugs they have. But this is one of the characteristics. And one of the things about these lugs is that they go around, they wrap around the wrist. Here's another one. Now, this is my travel watch, my Parmigiani travel watch. And this one is really amazing. Again, horn lugs, that's what they're called, if I remember. Okay, these big horn lugs. Notice how they wrap around the wrist. They look huge, and they look like horns. This one has double day-night indicators as well as dual times, plus it has, over here it has the date. This is called the Parmigiani Hemispheres, and I use it for my travel watch. It's been a great travel watch, and I really like it. Okay, well, I got a little out of order here. I've got to go back to my newest ones next. Now, I have a group of watches that I just get because there's something about them that I like. This one is my regulator, and it was a $200 regulator from China. Apparently they're hard to get now because of all of everything going on with the pandemic and the excitement in Hong Kong, where this is from. These have sold out. People can't get them. The guy who made them is selling them left and right. It has a Seagull movement, and the Seagull movement for this is calibrated for regulator as opposed to sort of fixing up something else. It may be fixed up another one. Another new one I got was this Seiko 5. Now, I needed a good field watch, and this is sort of going out and working in the yard and things like that. And so I got this Seiko 5 and absolutely love it. Seiko 5, by the way, had, I think it was 1963 when it first came out, it had more innovations. I think like 5 different innovations, partially where the 5 came from. So this is another one of my new watches. And it was under $100. Finally, this watch was one, I've had this one for a while. This is sort of, and same with the regulator. The regulator was to sort of check off a box. I wanted a regulator, all right? So I got a regulator, didn't have to spend a ton of money on it. If I had bought a Laurent Ferrier one, beautiful, beautiful regulators they have. It cost me $40,000. So this way, I spent $200, got a regulator, and keep it around just because it's interesting. This one is an alarm, Poljot, I think. It's a Russian watch, and it has 2 little crowns over there on this side here, and one is you wind up for an alarm, and the other one you wind up for the time. And And my hearing is so bad that I mean, it would have to have the gongs of Big Ben for me to hear it. But when it goes off, I get a little zzz like that, and that sort of makes my day. So that's about it for that. Now, those watches are sort of whenever there's a watch that I want to have, I don't have a good reason for it, but I want it anyway. That's the kind of watch I want to get. Now, my next group of watches are my Bovet's. I think this was my first one that I had. Now, this is from 1940 or late 1930s, and I got it as new old stock. They had, the guys I got it from was a very, I don't know if the word's renowned, but sort of has a good reputation in Boston. I got it from them, and I found out they had reloomed the hands. Not so bad. I mean, here you have this one that had been sitting around for 70 years in a crate somewhere, and they found all of these watches. And it's what's called a mono-rattrapante. Now, I've wanted a rattrapante for a long time, but I couldn't afford one. I didn't have a good enough excuse. And so I found this one, and it's just been fascinating. It works perfectly. It has in addition to the mono-rattrapante, it has a chronograph. So this is my chronograph and sort of a rattrapante that I have. But it's a wonderful little watch. Now, my next Bovet, this one is another one I absolutely love. This has the called Bowen crown on the lugs, and then a bar crown a bar lug at the bottom. And this one I got it shortly after it came out, and it's just been a wonderful watch. 7-day, wind that thing up, and it ticks for 7 days, and it's unusual. Notice how the movement almost fits perfectly with the case. You don't see that too often, but this is a case. This is the case where the case and the movement were made for that. Now, this watch, this other Bovet belongs to my wife, and it's a Bowen crown. It has mother of pearls and Giloche on the mother of pearls and diamond indexes. And then it's gold and with this engraved gold rotor. It's a really nice watch. It's one of my most expensive watches, and it belongs to my wife, not me. That was an anniversary gift, and it cost me, I had to trade in my overseas in order to get it. Okay, now these next watches, these are my Vacheron Constantins. This was one of the first ones I got. This is the 1972, and again, they have the solid back to them, 18 karat gold, and it's a watch that I almost never wear. It's very difficult for me to quite understand it, but it has a Frederic Piget movement in it, and when I wear it, I love it. I used to wear it a lot more as one of my formal watches, but I have so many other formal watches that I wear that this one doesn't get worn as much, and I love to have it though. By the way, too, this particular model, they don't make these anymore. They got rid of the whole line. This was part of their, I think it was called Prestige de France. And what happened in 1974, they won this Prestige de France, which was a big thing for the French gave out, and it was the first time they'd ever given it to a watch company. And they didn't give it outside of France very often. But when the company got it, they decided to make a series of watches commemorating it. This is the second one, and the last one they made is another beauty. All three of them I just thought were really cool. They have the what's called the golden ratio in the lines here, so that's a big thing. My other Vacheron Constantin is my Historiques Americaine 1921. This watch is, it's really a great watch. It has when I got it, it wasn't, I don't know, I think it was maybe by the time I got it, it was 1 or 2 years old. Not the watch, but the model. They started making it, and I got this one new, and I got it during the first, what was called the Asian crisis, and so there were some of these coming back from Asia, and I was able to get a very good price on it. Okay, that's how I can afford it. Now, uh, these next ones, the first one that I got is this Harry Winston. And the Harry Winston, the interesting thing about this one is that I had to do some digging to find out about what the parts were, basically, because Harry Winston doesn't make its own movements, but they hire some of the top watchmakers for their movements. Now, this particular one, they use a Girard-Perregaux movement, but they have this bi-retrograde, and this was made by Jean-Marc Wiederreck, who, this is Agenor, I can't say it as well as he can. So this is a watch that's very special to me because it has that. The other thing about this, it has, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the lugs on this have a little swivel to it. I don't have any other watch where they don't swivel a lot, but they swivel a little, and so it really fits very nice on your wrist. So that was one of my dress watches. The story behind it was that I made a deal with a guy, and so overseas, and he said, "Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to hire a courier, have the courier come to my office, and I'll give the courier the watch, and then have the courier go and send it to you FedEx." I said, "What?" I said, "No." And this was a deal that I'd already made on that watch. And so basically I said, "Look, I just thought, oh boy, this guy is, no." And so I went and looked for another one, and I found this one, by the way, with a Harry Winston AD. And it had belonged to a guy who had like a multi-million-dollar collection of watches. And his initials were HW. and he bought another Harry Winston. He said, "Well, I don't need two with my initials." And so I got that one for a great price. Okay, now this was one of my first, I think in fact it was my first high horology watch. This is a little Patek Philippe Calatrava from 1968. And it was released on July 4th, 1968. So it's got a history to it. And this watch is another one that I almost never wear anymore. I used to wear it a lot because of for a dress watch, I'd go to some fancy thing and wear this one and loved it. But the problem is that when I got some of these other ones that I have, I just thought, well, no, this one's pretty delicate, so I don't wear it. Wonderful watch, keeps perfect time still. I love it very much. Now, this next one is a GMT. This is called a Zenith Elite GMT. One of the best deals on a watch I ever had. I found it for sale and lowballed it, and the guy said, "Fine." I got it for a great deal. The guy was having a trouble selling it because it had, when I got it, it had a metal bracelet on it. And the guy who had owned it previously had small wrists, so he took one or two of the links out of the metal bracelet. And so when people read that, they didn't want it. So the guy couldn't sell it. So when I got it, I thought, well, I'll either get a new bracelet for it, or get a blue gator strap. And I thought, wow, once I got the blue gator strap, I thought, heck, I'll keep that. Now, this next watch that I got is this Harbring 2. And I wanted a handmade watch, and this is one that was by Richard Harbring, they don't, I don't know how many they make, but not a lot. And this one, it's not handmade in the same way that Roger Smith's are handmade. He takes a rod of gold and grinds into a case with it. But all of the parts and the assembly and so forth, these are all made by Richard Habring. He's the designer. The movement is called the A11. Felix won an award. It's a fabulous watch. Okay. Now my next group of watches is these are special ones. This particular one is one of my very favorite. It's a Langenheim Frederick II. You can see the movement. It has just this gorgeous movement with a trigonal bridge, and you can see all of the parts to it. And this one I wear a lot and really enjoy it a lot. Now this one is another one with a little strange story behind it. This is a Christian Vanderclaw Series 74. And this particular one I got on a trade. A friend had it, and he got it brand new and didn't like it for whatever reason. And there was one of mine that he did like, and I wanted to trade, and it was one that I had always been sort of mad about. And so I traded it to him. And so that's how I got my Christian Vanderclaw. Love this watch. It's the only moon phase watch that I have. And to tell you the truth, it's really the only one that I really would want. Now, the next watch is this one. This is an FP Journe Chronomètre Souverain. When I got this, I had a choice of getting one in platinum or gold or tantium, the blue. But I like this one, and because I didn't have anything else in platinum. I had a great price on this one, and I thought, I'm going to get this one. That's what I did, and that's how come I ended up with this. Now, if I had been an investor, I would have been a lot better off getting the blue because they cost less than these at the time, but now they're really gone through the roof. The other FP Journe I have is the FP Journe Chronomètre Souverain. And this watch was one of the early ones, and the interesting thing about it, before 2005, FP Journe put in brass plates and bridges in the movement, and then after that time, he put in the gold plates and bridges like in my Souverain. Well, it turned out that this was like, the price on this thing just went crazy, and I couldn't afford it anymore. So I'm glad I got it when I did, and got very lucky on that one. Well, so that's my collection. And what's next? What I want to do two things. One, I want to sort of cut it down some. I don't have a lot of places I can cut. And any suggestions that you have, I'd like to hear from you. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.